Hi, Clean Energy Show listeners. Before we get to the episode, we want to take a moment here on the show to address the United States Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade on June 24th, which stripped away the right to have a safe and legal abortion. We join in solidarity with other podcasts around the world in doing so. We have links for you in the show notes. Learn more about what you can do to help at choice.crd.co. And we encourage you to speak up, to take care, and to spread the word.
Hello and welcome to episode 120 of the Clean Energy Show. I'm Brian Stockton.
I'm James Whittingham. This week, CATL has announced a new battery that is more energy dense than Tesla's new cells. But is it more energy dense than me? You'll have to tune in to find out.
Hawaii says aloha to coal-fired electricity and aloha to grid storage batteries. Wait, aloha's maybe not the right word there. One of them's coming and one of them's going.
Investigative journalism comes to my door to discuss the oil refinery near me. The questions they ask will shock you. At least I hope so, because they horrified the hell out of me.
General Motors has a simple new charging scheme called Plug and Charge. This replaces the more cumbersome plug, wait, download an app, phone customer support, and then if you're lucky, charge.
All that and more in this edition of The Clean Energy Show. Brian Stockton, you look, I want to say you look like hell, but you look like 95% of yourself.
I feel about 95% of myself. The main thing is I'm not dead.
Yeah, that is important.
No, and it felt like a bit of almost like a cliffhanger because you released an episode last week. And it was kind of like, well, Brian's got COVID, so, no show this week. So tune in next week to find out if he's dead.
I'll do anything for ratings, Brian. You know that. Including give you COVID. No, I didn't do it. But you were off and you were at Alberta. If you're just joining us, he was at a conference, his partner was at a conference in Alberta. So you tagged along for the beautiful mountain vistas and you came back with the COVID. So tell me everything, because you and I have been talking COVID since the beginning of COVID and one of us finally got it. And thank Jesus it was you.
Yeah, well, I went to Banff and all I got was COVID.
Is there a t-shirt?
There should be. But it is, of course, a lovely place, had a lovely time. And it wasn't until, because it takes a few days after you become exposed. So we were literally on the drive home when we started to feel like something was maybe up. And then as soon as we got home, we tested and it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, lit up right away as COVID. There was no doubt at all. And then for me, it was about a day and a half was kind of bad. Like it was somewhere between a bad cold and a flu. It wasn't a full-blown flu, but I felt quite tired, basically just laid in bed for a day and a half, then started to feel a bit better.
Did you feel achy?
I still feel a bit sniffly.
Achy?
Yeah, achy as well. And it, had a little bit of a fever for about a day and a half as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you take anything?
I took Tylenol. That definitely helped. That quelled the achiness and took the fever down a bit. So yeah, it was only a day and a half of that. And then, but I still feel kind of tired. I still feel a bit sniffly, a bit congested.
Right now?
Yeah, right now, yeah. And a little bit foggy. I've got the COVID fog. So
well, that's not good. Jesus Christ almighty.
If I say something dumb this week, at least I have an excuse.
Brian's got the COVID fog disclaimer.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel a little bit
off.
A little bit foggy. It's weird.
That's not good. You are fully vaxxed. You are vaxxed to the max. You got the 4 shots.
4 shots, yeah.
And it wasn't that long ago that you had the 4 shots, so it's still fairly strong. About a month ago or so, maybe?
Yeah, the timing was pretty good. It was, probably a month ago or so.
So I
certainly wouldn't have wanted to go through it without those shots.
Holy crap. I mean, if it's doing that to you with the shots, what's it going to do without the shots?
Yeah, but this seems to be, for most people that are vaxxed, this seems to be it, sort of mild. Although a friend of ours, Shane in Toronto, he was flat out for 2 weeks apparently, and he had 3 shots.
Oh my God.
So it's not entirely predictable.
He still works in a bar, right? Did he get a mega dose of drug people spitting on him?
Yeah, he was working in a bar. So as soon as they relaxed the restrictions, he's like, oh man, I bet you I'm going to get COVID. And yeah, pretty much immediately he did.
Oh man, I feel sorry for those people who are worried about it and have to work in the service industry knowing that that's coming to them. So hopefully your brain fog goes away. I'm going to have a cognitive test ready for you next week so that we can see how you're doing.
Oh, excellent.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about the experience? Were you ever worried?
No, I was never particularly worried. No. It's if anything, as you say, the fogginess. That's the one thing that worries me because I sure hope that doesn't stick around.
You're retired. What do you need your brain for? Deciding on what chair to sit in at the lake. Come on. I mean, just like your decisions are all over. Your main decisions are behind you.
It's true. A little fog can't hurt. So, but I wanted to wrap up a couple of things about the trip because this was it turned out to be about a 2,000 kilometer electric road trip, which was a lot of fun. Banff, Alberta has 100% electric buses for their city buses. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah.
Oh, man. I was hoping they would go that route. And because we have a fond relationship, our family, with the bus because we camp at basically it's a city. Yeah. It's bigger than Banff itself. The campground, Tunnel Mountain, there's 2 large campgrounds and some of them I think they're actually called a city. And my kids took the bus to town. Yeah. Even when they were little, they would go to McDonald's and their Uncle Doug had the happy bus, he called it. And it's been a family sort of joke ever since. And they gave them some independence to take that bus on as little kids. And I was hoping, I probably said it on a show before that I was hoping to become electric. And they have. Yep. So that's wonderful.
I didn't try them, but we saw them going down Main Street though. And as I said before, Parks Canada had some electric vehicles as well.
Yeah. Right. So last time you were on the show was 2 weeks ago for episode 118, where you're actually in Banff, and you did the Tesla road trip out there without major concern. You did run into a mutual friend. Hopefully he doesn't have COVID, or hopefully he didn't give it to you.
We were outdoors. It was probably fine. But I had a few other things I wanted to wrap up from Banff. One was we were talking recently about full self-driving and robo-taxis and cars that drive themselves. And you and I took a test drive of the full self-driving from Tesla here in our city, and it was fairly confused about our weird little city and our weird little streets and our no painted lines, etc. But I wanted to mention, it's like every city has a handful, and if it's a big city, probably more than a handful, of just weird, very specific traffic things. And there was one in Banff that I wanted to mention. So there's a T intersection in Banff where you're turning right down the shaft of the T, and there's a traffic light, and there's a 3-colored turning arrow. So normally a turning arrow on a traffic light is normally just green, right? It flashes and you turn.
Right.
And occasionally there's an amber setting too, where the flashing green turns
gives you
amber.
A little warning before it turns off, so you're not surprised.
Yeah. Well, they've got this one intersection in Banff where you're just turning right. And in Canada, you can turn right on a red light. So I'm not even sure why they even need the arrow, but it flashes in 3 different colors. It'll flash red, and it'll flash amber, and it'll flash green. And as near as I could tell, you could turn right on all of them because it's a red light. I was completely confused by this.
Well, the red one means it's a stop sign. So you come to a complete stop, then turn right.
That's sort of what I gathered but that's normally what you do anyway on a red light. Like it's a red light.
Right.
You can turn right, but you have to stop first.
Yeah.
That's the normal rule.
Yeah.
And there was no sign that said no right turn on red, which is a thing sometimes. And I assumed the flashing amber was, okay, you can turn, but be careful. But you're careful anyway. And then a flashing green. So yeah, I was very confused.
And that's probably for international travelers, isn't it? Because it's a very international audience. A lot of people come to Calgary and rent cars and go the hour over to Banff National Park in the town.
Yeah.
So they must be confused.
But if this is the only place in the entire world where this exists, then nobody's going to understand it, no matter what country you're from.
I feel like I've seen it before, but it could have been in Banff.
Yeah. But then I wanted to mention, too, on the after Banff, we stayed for a night in Kananaskis. And you were sort of complaining about Banff, that it's a bit too crowded, it's a bit too touristy. Have you ever been to Kananaskis?
I love Kananaskis. K-Country?
Yeah.
The Peter Lougheed Provincial Park?
Yeah, it's just so beautiful. And there just seemed to be less people there. There was this nice little walkway behind our hotel. And we just 50 feet from the hotel, you go out onto this path with the most amazing mountain vistas you've ever seen in your life. and there was not another person in sight. Like we could see 50 miles in each direction. No other humans, just us. Eventually, other people did show up on the path.
This is just west of Banff National Park.
Yeah.
On the road to Calgary, and you take this Kananaskis Highway, which in itself is quite beautiful, just driving it, actually. And the thing, though, is you don't see the people, but they're there. The campgrounds are large and sold out all the time. So, yeah, we borrowed a relative's house in Calgary and made day trips to Kananaskis a couple of times once, and we love it. That's where my son and I went mountain biking when I was in much better shape up the side of this mountain, and it killed me. And we wanted to get to the BC border because the border was like a continental divide at the top of the mountain on this path. Okay. And so he thought, he was little at the time. This is like he might have been 8 or 9 years old. And he's into geography. He realized it would cross that line on bicycles. Like that would be really cool for a city kid. And I had altitude sickness and I just passed out and laid on the ground. And the damn kid went on without me. He left me for dead. And because he wanted to pass the border, which he did, which wasn't far. I almost made it. I mean, I did make it eventually. But the thing is, Brian, I've told you this before, I took pictures that I don't remember taking when I was on the ground. Altitude and James don't go well together. Neither does anything, really. I mean, I cannot be a fighter pilot. There's a lot of things I can't do. So
a couple other wrap-up things. Stop to charge in Maple Creek, Saskatchewan, which is one of my favorite Tesla charging spots. It's just this lovely little town with an excellent coffee shop, the Daily Grind, I think it's called.
Is that what
Shout
it
out
is?
to the Daily Grind coffee shop. And it's a co-op station, and they have co-op branded chargers for vehicles other than Teslas. And I sent you a picture while I was there because it was this site that you see often at these third-party non-Tesla chargers, which was 2 people on the phone to customer support trying to get their car to charge.
That's
they had
sad.
a Volvo XC40. And I think they eventually worked it out. I wasn't there the whole time, so I don't know. But
I was thinking,
I just felt really.
I was thinking, I wish you talked to them, but now that we know you have COVID, I'm really glad you didn't.
I might have killed them. It's true.
They're old people giving them COVID. You would never know. You just have to read the abyss and see if you recognize them.
So I didn't talk to them, but I just felt really bad because they were elderly people. Like they were really old, like 75, and they were clearly trying to do the right thing.
Apologies to anyone 75 and older. I know you feel like you're 20. I get it.
To go to all that expense as well of buying an electric car and doing the right thing. And then as an old person, having to deal with these apps and having to phone customer support.
Yeah, I see your point. The technology is not going to be any fun.
We'll talk about GM's scheme in that realm later on.
Okay. Does that wrap up your trip then, Brian?
Just wanted to address the audio for last week. So I was set up in the hotel room, or I guess 2 weeks ago, but that my audio wasn't great, but it was because I had to set up the video as well. And I wanted to get the video with the mountains in the background, but it's next time I'm in a hotel room, I think I could do a better job of the sound baffling and get a little better quality.
Maybe not get COVID next time or two.
And maybe
a couple of things you could improve upon next trip. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, and I'm glad it never got too bad, but I'm also alarmed that it's been how long now since you've had it?
Yeah, it's about 9 days, 10 days.
And you're still feeling it. And the fog, did you feel the fog immediately, or is it in your head? I mean, are you sure that you feel the fog?
Is it fog, or is it just that I'm old?
Is it fog or old age? Okay, so I'm going to update some stories that we've talked about before in the show here. Friend of the show, Tyler Krause of the Tesla Owners Saskatchewan Facebook group, he had a major problem with his Tesla. Now, previously on the show, you and I have talked about floods with people driving their cars through deep water. And we laughed and said, a Tesla could go right through that. Apparently not.
Oh.
Because he had problems doing that.
Was it the recent flooding they had in Saskatoon?
He's up in Saskatoon, Canada, and they had a thunderstorm with a great deal of rain all at once, and some of the roads were flooded. I saw a video from his Tesla of a city bus just kind of plowing by and making big wake waves, which you don't want. Yeah, his high voltage pack has water in it, he says, up top where the electronics are. And it sounds like they'll be doing a full pack replacement. And this, Brian, is not covered under Tesla warranty.
Oh,
so he has to make a claim to his insurance, and I hope that goes well. We have public insurance here where we live, and hopefully it'll cover it.
Yeah, certainly we've seen videos of Teslas and other electric cars plowing quite well through water. I had water come up over the hood of my car in when we had some city flooding.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe you're lucky not to have it damaged then.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show a couple of years ago, but I was surprised how deep it was. And it sounds like most of the time you're okay, but most of the time it's not all the time.
Yeah, I wonder if the Cybertruck, there was talk of the Cybertruck being able to go through water. The Rivian can go through water. Its battery pack is sealed. It's just to the point of 1.5 meters that you can go through water. Otherwise, it floats away. And you don't want that because there's no propeller on it. There's no boat motor unless you add one. Yeah. So Tyler says a word of caution to everyone else about driving through deep water. Just be cautious and maybe not do it. It's not a safe thing to do anyway, because you never know when there's going to be a sinkhole or something. You could go right down, and there's just no way of knowing. Brian, the Tesla Model S, that is the first mass-produced car from Tesla, the sedan, very fast semi-luxury car, is 10 years old now. Your thoughts?
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Like it was a car ahead of its time, and still the rest of the industry is kind of struggling to catch up with that.
Chevrolet or GM Cruise, that's the self-driving automated software company from GM. They are now using their self-driving vehicles in San Francisco as a driver service, as a driverless ride service. So you can book one and get in it and drive without a driver. Waymo doing the same thing, but now Cruise is doing the same thing too. But it's a little bit cheaper than an Uber ride. It's 17% less right now. Because, the big theory here on the show is that driverless electric cars will be, let's say, less than 20 cents a mile, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Elon has said. Some people say as little as 12 cents, because you're going to, a big company would set up a solar farm and charge it, and solar would be cheaper a few years from now, and so forth. Anyway, $872 for the ride they took in their Uber, and it would cost $1041. $872 for a sample ride they took in the GM Cruise, and $1041 would be in the Uber. Now, these cars are not Teslas. They have 40 plus sensors around them, expensive ones, big things on the roofs. They're not invisible. They're big. It's a self-driving car. It's got a 360-degree view. It's got LiDAR. Vehicles are also able to map the location by detecting surrounding objects within centimeters for accuracy. What do you think of that? I mean, they're doing that, and as a man who has the self-driving beta software for Tesla, which is struggling right now, is that impressive? I mean, can they roll that out quickly, or is it just doomed to be slow? And it's a matter of, can the Tesla turtle catch these guys who are way ahead, but also a turtle?
Yeah. It's so hard to say. I mean, you got to start somewhere. So they're actually doing it. They're actually offering rides for a fee without a driver, but it's a very limited area. It's a geofenced area, and I think they're only doing it at night too. It's like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or something.
When there's less traffic, so they don't hold people up, perhaps.
Less traffic, fewer pedestrians, a little bit safer. So, obviously it's not a slam dunk or anything, but you got to start somewhere. So, this is where the progress starts.
I'm just read a story about our town having a 7-year-old boy hit by a drunk driver at 8:30 in the morning as he waited for the school bus. So I can't wait for self-driving vehicles. If you are drunk, then by God, hit the button and have the car drive itself. our future, this is coming one way or another, whether we use it as a taxi or we use it ourselves. And hopefully it'll create a safer environment for us, right?
There was a thing going around social media a couple of weeks ago about the Wright brothers. I don't know if this is even true or not, or it's one of those things that somebody faked, but it was like a newspaper article from like a year before the Wright brothers had their successful flight, and just complaining about what a waste of time it is. They'll never fly. They'll never figure out how to fly an airplane. This is ridiculous.
Oh, I'm sure that's real. You know, I'm sure they dealt with that. I don't know how broad that the knowledge of what they were doing got around, but it's one of those crazy things. And so plug and charge convenience is, we were talking about how easy it is to plug a Tesla, right? You plug a Tesla in, you set it up in your app, and it knows your car, and you do nothing. Your credit card has been entered into the Tesla app, and a Tesla owner can happily go across the continent and just plug in and not worry about it. Walk off to a restaurant, and that's that. However, other people, like those elderly people you saw the other day, have to struggle with apps and credit cards and payment methods not working and machines getting rebooted and not recognizing the payment, or communicating with the car. So plug and charge convenience apparently is coming to GM vehicles. So GM, I like this. I like the idea. It works the same as a Tesla. Just plug it in and go. There's a catch, however, Brian, because it's going to cost $25 US a month for the OnStar account. Why you need the OnStar account, I don't know. Do you think Tesla uses wireless connectivity to make that happen? Is there anything there, or does it come from the chargers themselves?
It's the chargers are probably hardwired to the internet, I would think. But it's unfortunate that they're asking for a fee, $25 a month. I mean, I guess lots of GM owners already pay that with this service. I'm not sure, but I'd be surprised if that sticks around. But in the early days, if they want to charge for it, that's fine. But we've been waiting for this to come, and we've said it before on the show. Like, there's really no reason why this shouldn't be happening already with the other manufacturers. And for instance, Volkswagen, so the Electrify America charging network in the US and Electrify Canada, it's basically paid for by Volkswagen as penance for their Dieselgate scandal. So, from the very beginning, they could have had the Electrify America network talking to the cars in a similar fashion. But, I don't know, they just haven't done it yet. But this is a good indication that this is now possible. And hopefully we'll see this rolled out to everybody.
Yeah, so it only works on the EVgo network in their DC fast charging compatible EVs, which would be the Bolt, the Hummer EV, and the Cadillac Lyric. And just speaking of the Bolt, because I want to buy one, and I'm mad that it's been $6,000 cheaper in the States than it was before, and that pricing is not coming to where we live in Canada. Dawn, I read a tweet from Dawn on Twitter a couple of weeks ago saying that the Bolt hasn't got their stuff together yet. And I said, no, they have their stuff together, or they wouldn't be selling them. They can't go through this again. Well, evidence was starting to mount then, and it's really mounted now from my reading of the forums, that there is a lot of problems with the new Bolts out there. Some of them they're saying that the packs have to be replaced, that they're getting this error and it's charged to 30% maximum. They go to the dealer, they say you need a new pack, it'll be at least a month. So then once again, the new Bolt owners are out of luck. They're having to wait for God knows when a new pack's going to come. Some of them will be waiting till the end of the year for the people who bought before all this happened. So it's very discouraging that's going on.
They obviously had a massive and expensive recall, but you'd think that they would have worked those issues out before going forward again.
Apparently, it's maybe just one of the cells in the pack or something like that, but they haven't figured out. Some people are saying they're working on a software update, and other people have been told different things. And so there's nastiness going on with that. It's I probably would want to wait, but I can't wait. I got to get one as soon as I can find one, because I can't wait forever. It's been 2 months since Toyota launched their BZ4X. As if if I can't say it, who can? And I cover this on a show. How's the consumer going to get that right? BZ4X.
Yeah, or BZ4X.
Or BZ4X for those of you who don't have rights for women. That is
ouch.
The Toyota's big first EV offering of this century, really. So it's a SUV and it's getting crappy reviews. The Verge just reviewed it and really said it was a letdown, uninspiring EV compared to everything else that's on the market, and very pricey because a lot of them will start at around $50,000 US if well equipped. So that's not good. But now they've initiated a global recall on it already. They haven't sold more than a handful of them. And you know what the problem is? The wheels may fall off. That is not a joke. No, we like to have humor on the show whenever possible. This is not a joke. Toyota has issued a recall for that because their wheels may fall off because the bolts may not be connected to the vehicle.
It sounds like the bolts just need to be tightened. That doesn't sound like a big deal.
Either way, I mean, I would go, if I had one, I would go tighten them, but what are you going to do? Not everybody is a lug nut person. I am, if I can bend or get one of my kids to bend. So the Financial Times had a report that said that 2,700 have been affected by them because that's how many they've sold so far, which isn't many. That's only because they choose not to sell them. So 2,200 are in Europe, and guess how many are in all of North America? 280.
Yeah.
So screw you, Toyota. I'll tell you, Brian, these people are going out of business. One of the biggest automakers in the world is not going to figure it out in time, I think.
The biggest. Well, I'm kind of assuming there's going to be big government bailouts in the future for many automakers, but we'll see. Okay, so news from Hawaii that they're shutting down their last coal plant very soon, which is great news. And it's being replaced with 565 megawatt hours of Tesla Megapacks. So this is a coal plant, and they have timed the opening of this. This should be happening later in the year, where the coal plant is going to shut down, the batteries are going to ramp up, and Hawaii is going to be coal-free. So a microcosm, I guess, of what's happening everywhere in the world. But I always love to hear about stories like that where coal is being replaced by batteries. So this is not the largest battery pack grid storage battery in the world, but it's up there. It's definitely a very, very sizable project.
I didn't know Hawaii even had coal power.
It seems crazy, doesn't it? I mean, they must be able to mine coal.
You think?
Somewhere on the island?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But the islands are volcanic. So, I mean, I'm no geologist, as clearly obvious right now at this moment. But I'll have to ask because...
I mean, it wouldn't make sense to ship it in from somewhere.
You wouldn't think so, but I'm curious about that. I bet some of our listeners know the answer to that. And if you're in Hawaii, can I stay with you? Just for a week, something like that.
Yeah. We need to make contacts all over the world.
We need to do the show from Hawaii, Brian, especially in winter.
I would do that.
Do they have COVID in Hawaii?
Oh, no. God, no.
That's good. Hawaii's a smaller market, obviously, easier to do things. But there's also a lot of economics in doing renewable energy with batteries in an island nation where you do have to ship things in because natural gas would have to be shipped in. And I'm not so sure coal doesn't have to be shipped in.
No, and diesel for diesel generators probably does have to be shipped in. But, not to mention the ecological benefits. People go to Hawaii because it's beautiful. You don't want to be smelling pollution when you're in Hawaii.
Absolutely not. You go there for the clean air. There is no history of coal mining in Hawaii, according to the internet.
Oh, interesting. So they do have to ship it in.
A state that has little or no coal reserves, the coal power industry is very weak. The state's sole coal-fired power plant was built in 1992. And there are no active proposals. This is a year old, this information, to build new ones. So, yeah, raw oil is sent there, and Russian oil, actually, which is relevant, isn't it?
Uh-oh.
Although I'm sure that's not the case now because the United States is not buying any of that. So, and then, of course, gasoline's very expensive in Hawaii, which is why I rented a bike when I was there. Now I would rent an e-bike. That would be so cool. You could do the whole Oahu on an e-bike in a day practically. It's a small island, so. Yeah, and there's that cool ocean breeze. Brian, I've got to go to the airport. I'll see you later. Finish the show at your own. CATL has announced a technology breakthrough that bumps up the energy density of the cells it produce. Now, we get press releases literally by the hour from people who claim that there's a battery cell technology breakthrough of some sort. And do you want to interview Professor Schnaub from Toledo University night school?
Because we're a big important podcast.
We are. Well, it's actually true, though. we are getting a lot of press releases now. We are on the clean energy media circuit, but we don't do interviews currently, so it's kind of pointless. But CATL, Brian, is the biggest battery manufacturer in the world. The biggest one. So they're not freaking around here. When they have an announcement, it's for real. And it's a Chinese based company. So I read about this at first in the China EV Post, and then Inside EVs had some better information that explained it better. So they just announced this technology breakthrough that bumps up the energy density. They call this new battery QILIN. Keelan, I want to say. Would you agree to that as a linguist of a note?
Yes, I would. Yes.
Keelan, you've been to China, so I have not.
Sure.
Keelan, the name of the creature straight out of Chinese legend books, and it's not only more energy dense, but it charges quicker, which is something we're all looking for. And they say it's also safer, good thing, and lasts longer, which means that the price of it, if you're using an energy grid storage and things like that, is also cheaper per kilowatt hour because you're getting more kilowatt hours over the lifetime of it. So the battery can reach an energy density of 255 watts per kilogram, easily allowing a vehicle to charge a range of 1,000 kilometers, which is excessive even for a guy like me who lives in a cold climate and wants higher range. I'd say 650 is a sweet spot. I don't think there's diminishing returns after that. But if your battery charges fast, especially in cold weather, then it doesn't even matter. It'll be in mass production in 2023. That's next freaking year. This is good news. And they're not making that big of a deal about it. They didn't have a battery day event or anything like that. But this is better than the Tesla cell. It's about 13% or so better than a Tesla cell, the newest Tesla. So we talk about incremental increases in battery improvements. This is a fairly big increment, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, this is very exciting. Yet CATL, clearly the leader in this kind of thing. So yeah, that's awesome.
They say they've quadrupled the heat transfer area. This is talking about the way they make their packs for EVs, and the world first large surface cooling technology, which places the water cooling component traditionally located at the bottom of the cell between the cells. And this technology supports a fast hot start in 5 minutes and charging to 80% in 10 minutes, which is all you need. I mean, if this pans out and we get this in the marketplace, what more do you need?
Well, if you think about it, we're really still in the very early innings of electric transport, and the batteries we have now are good enough, but it should only get better and cheaper from here.
Yeah. So the same chemistry and the same pack size, the Keelan battery delivers a 30% increase in power compared to the 4680 cell. That's the big fat cells that Tesla is making, along with other manufacturers. So yeah, safety, efficiency, low temperature performance got my attention as a northerner. I looked it up. So that means like a 600 kilometer battery would now be 700 kilometers almost with the same volume and weight. So that's kind of, it's not insignificant when you look at it that way.
All right. So here in our beloved country of Canada, they have introduced a ban on single-use plastics. So by the end of 2025, it will be pretty much impossible to get single-use plastics here in Canada. So we're talking about plastic straws, stir sticks, those rings that hold cans together.
I don't know what they're going to do about that, Brian. I drink pop.
Well, I've seen cardboard ones, so I imagine it'll be something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of those things that, we've known for decades that there's really, a lot of waste and excess packaging and a lot of plastic being made that we don't need. And finally, the government is getting around to doing something about it. So yeah, I'm in favor. This is great.
I have something serious to talk about, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah.
I am announcing to the world now that 4 years ago now, investigative journalists came knocking at my door to talk about the oil refinery that is approximately 2.5 kilometers away. I've told you some of this before, but I told you that in confidence. And 2 years ago, I talked to them again. So 4 years ago and 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, they swore that they were going to publish their findings and complete the work. And I did a Zoom interview with a journalist and a student journalist, because this is a collaborative effort of a lot of people in organizations, because we live in a small market. We don't have good investigative journalism here because we can't afford it. So the idea is to pool the resources of newspapers, television, and independent journalists, and even journalism students to do an investigation on. They have not released this report, but here today I am releasing what they said to me, because I think it's important, and because I got a call the other day. 2 years, every 2 years I hear from them, Brian. And they said that, the woman said she's writing a book and I'm going to be in the book, and can she approve the quote? And it didn't sound right, but I said, yeah, I know this never works out. The quotes never sound right, but so yeah, I approved it. I said you could use my name. Before I said no, because my son actually worked for an affiliated company at the time, and he was a summer job. So
yeah.
Anyway, what my issue about this is the questions they asked. They would not reveal much to me, but they revealed in what questions they asked, and that scared the daylights out of me. It still does, because I've lived here for 13 years. I have a series of pipelines. Like, there's an easement that we've enjoyed as a family when the kids were little, because there's a field right behind my house. However, an airplane flies at low altitude over that every day to make sure there's no leaks so I don't die. And it goes, partially to the refinery and partially through the refinery. I'm more concerned with the air quality, because I told you I wake up in the middle of the night, and if my windows are open, like, I'd like fresh air. And I will, it gets warm in this house, even in, the spring and fall, and I keep the windows open. I love the fresh air, except it can turn bad. I can wake up with a sore throat and irritated eyes because the refineries come my way. And I smell the refinery over half the city, Brian, because we've had weird weather this year. Actually, my pool, I've only been in it 3 times, and that's just to clean it for the spring. It's a month behind schedule, a month and a half behind schedule. I've enjoyed it once for a couple of hours. And maybe this afternoon might be warm again, but it's just been so cold here because of the El Nino. So we've had a lot of northerly winds, and that's blown the refinery air through much of the city. And I'm like halfway into the city, and I can smell it downtown. And I think, oh, is the wind from the north? Yeah, it's from the right direction. So that's the refinery. I require an east wind or an east-southeast wind, and that's not common. But also, when the wind is nil, it sort of mushrooms out and just sort of falls around in a big circle around the refinery. And I get it that way too. So I need winds, but just not from the east. So yeah, here's some of the questions that alarmed me. I'll start with the worst one. They asked me if I eat my garden. They've asked me, do you have a vegetable garden, and do you eat the vegetables? I'm not supposed to eat the vegetables from my garden. Is there a reason for not? We can't say. We do have a vegetable garden, Brian. We're not the best gardeners in town, but we do have vegetable gardens, and we do eat the vegetables from them. Should we not do that? I don't know. Is there a problem with that? Another question was, is there residue on your car windows? The answer to that question is yes, there is. Now, we have a lot of windy weather here, and I'm kind of exposed out here where we live. We're on near the edge of town and on a boulevard, so lots of open area. However, even on calm nights, there is a film on my windows. I wanted to ask you about it, if you had that film, but you live on, your car is under a roof. It's under, what do you call it? A carport.
Yeah, a carport. If I park on the street, lately I did, and it was a bunch of tree sap, but I don't think that that's anything to do with anything else. And yeah, I'm on the other end of the city.
No, this is year round for me. I'm getting that, and it's gotten worse over the years. So every day I get into my car, regardless of if it's spit rain or not spit rain, or if it's winter or summer, I have to clean the windows. And it's a thin film, but it's there. God knows what's in it because, it's refinery dumped. I also live near a steel mill. I'm sort of triangulated between a refinery and a steel mill. The steel mill does use electric arc furnaces, but at the same time, it has a lot of off-gassing of the steel that's getting melted in there and so forth. Yeah, and they also said the area of concern, I claimed that I was far enough away not to be too concerned. They said, well, no, actually, you're right in the spot. Because 1 kilometer is not as bad as 2 kilometers away. That's sort of like a donut shape. And they thought that maybe that I might not be in the right spot. They talked about cancer rates in my area, alarm bells, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, and have I downloaded the Refinery Explosion Alert app? The answer was, what? So I don't know if, the refinery shut down some investigative journalism that they claimed wanted that would expose safety concerns, as far as terrorism or, that sort of thing. So they were able to get a court order to shut down some things before this. So I didn't think that they were ever going to do anything. I wonder if it's been shut down again or what, or if it's petered out, but apparently a book's being written. So, and I'm in the book for what it's worth, just a brief quote, hardly anything important.
Yeah.
But
and so we don't know what the answers are or what the results are, but those are some pretty scary questions to be asked.
We are unusual here in that we have a refinery that is basically in the city. It's basically bordered the city. And I know people who work at the refinery. It employs a lot of people. And some of them want electric cars, they're not, oil industry gung-ho people driving big pickup trucks. So I don't know what to make of all this other than I can't afford to move. And where would I move to? Like, where's safe? I don't know, because the refineries aren't normally right in the city. My only hope was, of course, that we do this podcast and spread the word about clean energy. Then if that thing goes out of business, that's my dream. The dream is that it goes out of business. They come and dig up the pipeline, and I retire with a smile on my face.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have to come and live in my bomb shelter, I guess that would be okay.
We've got the radon there, so I can't really escape it. Did you ever do anything with the radon?
We may still put in an exhaust pipe, but we haven't done that yet. I'm going to wait another winter and see how the area is.
So an exhaust pipe would be going through the basement floor and just venting air up.
What we did was put in a heat recovery ventilator, so we just have better air quality. But in the winter, when we have the windows closed, the radon levels, they still creep up a bit. So yeah, we may have to put in a pipe. I have an addendum to that story that you were just talking about, and it's sort of a good news addendum. But did you know that they're putting a grid storage battery in your neighborhood?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so you've got the refinery, you've got the steel mill, which are noxious and toxic, but you're also going to get grid storage battery. It's going to go kind of in the same area. So, that's good news, I guess.
It's kind of the first of its kind. At least that's what the press release from the company put it in. They did some PR work last week, and that's probably what you're seeing. But the utility has announced it before, and it's going to go beside a small solar farm in the area. There's a big substation in that area of the city that's mostly industrial, and it feeds the refinery. So yeah, the refinery is going to have some nice backup power, which might be a good thing, because I think when there's a power outage, they off gas some crap, So it might actually be helpful to me
to keep the juice on.
And they claim that, you're supposed to report when things smell, but it doesn't take a brain surgeon to know when things smell. It smells all the time. If the wind's from a certain direction, you can look at where the wind is. They've got wind socks there. They've got, weather apps. Just look at it and you know that it's blowing over the city. So, which is, I probably get it less than some other areas, but I'm probably closer than the areas that have it almost all the time. And I feel bad for them because it's going to be a lower dose 24/7 because our prevailing winds are from the northwest.
I don't know. Things are looking up in the neighborhood, though. It's only about 20 megawatt hours was what this battery is going to be. But yeah,
It's nuts. I'm going to go take a selfie by it the second it goes up. And I'm excited about it. I looked at it. Actually, I looked at it the other day because we went chasing a thunderstorm, and which, by the way, was really weird. Honestly, we didn't expect anything weird to happen, but something weird happened. Let me tell you the story about that. We drove out to where the location you're talking about, which is just south of the garbage landfill. And I was sort of peeking over there to see if there was any construction yet. And there was some work going on, but not much. And I could see the substation which it was going to tie into. And then we turned to exit the city on this paved road that goes past the landfill because I wanted a paved road. I was in the Leaf. I didn't have a whole bunch of mileage on my low range car. And I just picked up my daughter and my son from something. So we went out to look at the storm, and the wind was coming from the south. And we looked over towards the steel mill that I just said, and it looked like it was on fire. There was all this black smoke seemingly coming from all around it. Okay.
Wow.
It's the storm is way north of the city. It's not near us. And the wind is from the south, but the smoke was blowing from the north to the south. It was blowing in the opposite direction. And then I thought, okay, is it a grass fire that's just blowing over the steel mill, or is there an industrial fire there? And then all of a sudden, the smoke came at us like a freight train, just right at us and way up into the air. And it was the freakiest thing I've ever seen. And then I thought, oh, this is related to the storm. There's an outflow. There's a plow wind coming from the back end of this storm, which was nasty and contained a tornado in it earlier in the day over, I forget where, but it was probably about an hour west of here. Same storm. Because I'm sorry, Brian, we're nerdy here in the family. We track storms. It's what we do. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the James Weather Center. So we knew that was a tornadic storm previously. Anyway, all this wind came, and it was this nasty wind, and stones were hitting the car. And we were just taking a casual look at the storm from outside the city, just to have a look at it and maybe take a nice picture of it because the sun was setting. And all this nastiness happened. And there was all these other storm chasers out there ducking for cover, and this truck almost flipped over, and he became stranded there, and I had to get people to help him. Yeah, it was a nasty business. Storm business, Brian. So
let me get this straight. You went out to chase a storm.
And a storm chased me.
And then you ended up in one, yes.
Storm chased me. That's why you don't chase storms if you don't know what you're doing, because they will come after you. They'll get angry and find you.
Okay, so just one quick story here from the Tesla North website that I wanted to bring it up because it gave me a double take, because the headline was EV charging rates to double in Quebec. And I thought, oh, that's fantastic.
What?
They figured out some kind of a software thing to increase the charging at like the Petro-Canada chargers in Quebec. But no, by charging rate, they meant the cost, the price.
What the hell?
But the way the headline was written, EV charging rates to double. Oh, fantastic. Fast. Oh, the fast charging is going to get even faster. No, it's just doubling. So for whatever reason, Petro-Canada has electric car chargers in Quebec, and they're just doubling the price. That's all.
That's all? That's a pretty bad thing. We don't have a lot of car chargers around this country, and Petro-Canada has a coast-to-coast network.
It's unfortunate. But maybe the rates were too low to begin with. We'll see.
Well, doubling is a bit nasty. I don't trust gas stations. Petro-Canada is owned by an oil sands company.
Suncor?
It slips my mind. What's it? Suncor, yeah.
Suncor, yeah.
And Buffett has been investing in oil, which makes me mad because he's going to leave the planet any day now. He doesn't give a crap about global warming.
It doesn't matter to him.
But he also invested in BYD in 2008, and he was an early investor in battery electric technology.
Yeah, a lot of the old school finance guys, they don't care so much about the planet.
Yeah, screw them. Anyway, it's time for the lightning round.
The Clean Energy Show lightning round.
This is where we clean up the headlines from the show, Brian, and just go through a few more things. In brief, Ford ends leasing buyout provisions for electric vehicles. Why? Because they're worth so damn much new. This is what I was worried about with my Prius, that, I wouldn't get out of it because they were worth $10,000 more than. So they've caught on, and they know that everyone's looking for. They're also betting on expensive gas, I would say, because they know that, the lease is going to be at least a year. So a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, they're banking on these EVs being worth an awful lot. So they're not going to let you buy it, which is frustrating as a person who's bought out 2 leases so far.
Yeah, certainly makes a lease much less attractive.
GM is threatening to take away EV inventory for its dealers that charge markups for their Chevy Bolts. And I've heard a lot of horror stories from the United States of this very thing going on. And they'll if they don't charge a market adjustment thing, they'll charge you for all kinds of crap, and I hate that. They'll have thousands and thousands of dollars in crap that you don't know until you get to the signing table. And I'm not going to buy that. Unfortunately, there's only one Toyota dealer in town, but there's a lot of Chevy dealers within a couple of hours drive. So I'm walking away if that happens when I go for mine. The technical potential of current wind power and solar in China is about 56,000 gigawatts. But that is 9 times the level needed for total carbon neutrality. So there is the potential, 9 times the potential for just wind and solar to solve China's energy needs. 9 times to be carbon neutral. This from CNN, Mr. Stockton. In 1968, year of our Lord, 23 states banned self-service gas stations. Thought this was interesting. 23 states banned self-service gas stations because they were becoming a thing and threatening the incumbents, right?
Yeah.
We see this all the time in our space.
No, and I think self-serve, it is still even maybe banned in a couple of states. I'm not sure.
Yes, it is. It is banned in a couple of states. I think Oregon is one of them, actually. Full-service gas stations adamantly oppose self-service. They saw cheaper self-service gas as a competitive threat. So what did the government do? They buckled and, it pisses me off the way government works. They saw a threat to the business, and they wanted to limit the spread of this horrible thing. Gas stations made their money by distinguishing their brands by offering a variety of services such as oil and battery checks, windshield wiping services, and vehicle repairs, which we don't see anymore. Gas stations, if you're younger than us, and I'm sure you are, gas stations used to have service stations. You used to get your car fixed. It wasn't working. You'd get some gas. You'd also get it fixed. There'd be like a shop and lift it up, and guys there with greasy rags in their pockets that would fix it for you. Those were the days. I love the smell of grease. Yeah. So that was their strategy in the early half of the 20th century. In Germany, solar hit a record 37,000 megawatts at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday. This is usually you hear about these things happening on the weekend when demand is lower, but in mid-June, they supplied more than 60% on a business day of the country's total electricity demand just from solar. And it's got a long way to go. There's a lot more solar that can be built, obviously. We're just at the beginning, really.
Yeah, it's great news.
From Bloomberg New Energy Finance, 2-wheeled vehicles, I've always wondered about this, account for less than 5% of the global carbon dioxide emissions from road transport. So that's not 5% of carbon emissions, but 5% of road transport emissions in the past decade. So it's one of the segments, though, optimistically, that is actually getting close to achieving zero tailpipe emissions. So that's one checkmark box that's going to go first.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
UK is ending the electric car subsidies to concentrate its funding for EV charging infrastructure instead. I would be sad if I was a prospective EV buyer in the UK, but also as a prospective buyer, I want more chargers, damn it. So I want the best of both worlds. So Tesla has lost over $500 million from its Bitcoin investment amid its crypto winter. Thoughts?
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's just from Mr. Musk's little $500 million gamble on crypto. Has not worked out.
It was 1.5 billion is what they put into it, so it must be down to $1 billion now as crypto takes a dive. It's hard to know where this is all going to go with crypto.
Finally, this week, on a positive note, Brian, Rhode Island sets the fastest state target of 100% renewables. They're doing it by, earlier than everyone else, 2033. And everyone else could if they wanted to. Congratulations to Rhode Island. That is our time for this week. If you're new to the show, remember to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you get new shows delivered every week. We're here all the time, every week, delivering you conversations about clean energy news, and we'd like to hear from you. Contact us, please. Clean Energy Show, one word, @gmail.com. On Twitter or TikTok, Clean Energy Pod. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel for special features. And you could even leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Clean Energy Show for online voicemails. See you next week, everyone.
See you next week.